Somebody big just died. American singer, actor, producer, writer, and activist Harry Belafonte is dead at the age of 96. My name is Aldo Gandia, and here to eulogize Mr. Belafonte is Mike North. Mike, how are you, my friend?
You know what? As always, it's good to join you under unhappy circumstances that actually make us money. So it was a little bit of a dry spell.
Yeah, why weren't people dying? What's going on here?
As soon as we signed on, we had 3-4 deaths, and then we came up with a miracle cure for everybody. I heard Mother Teresa's back.
Yeah, you know? That's right. Jimmy Carter won't pass away.
Yeah, Sinatra was just walking down the street, 57th Street. Yeah, they're all back. They're all back. As soon as we signed on with the great, ladies and gentlemen, Cumberland Chapel's funeral home. They're busy every day because they'll walk you through everything. Over there on Lawrence Avenue. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like they sit you down, they make things beautiful for you. They do just a tremendous job, the Lupos and everybody associated with, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've called them, or they could call themselves, or whatever they want, but it's sort of like the Portillos of funeral homes, except there's not a drive-through, you know. You can just go here, see you in 2 minutes, you know. I got my coupon. Great people, we appreciate it. And also, we got to bring everybody up to date. The great restaurant, Pennyville Station, Tony Antonacci, Tino Antonacci, he of Basta Pasta fame, they of Basta Pasta fame. Now with that brand spanking new restaurant 112 South Main Street in Park Ridge. It's just a beautiful thing. So we appreciate that. You know, people paint pictures of people, and it's almost personal with Harry Belafonte, with me, because as a kid growing up, and I know that the press in this town, their only way to, at the time, yeah, this predates Don Lemon, Trump, anybody, predates it. The press came after me, and they accused me of being a racist, the white press. The only thing black back then in the press room was the janitor, okay, for the most part. Same with the TV stations. They made their hires, but behind the scenes, I don't have to tell Aldo what the hell was going on. So they had to come after me for that. But I was always well-versed, because what people don't realize is that I love the black culture, always have. So these people walked in to a guy that they tried to portray as being that way, with a wife that would have never married anybody like that, with a man that had a partner who was African American, okay, with the most minority hires at that station's history, okay, and where people would come to me and say, this show doesn't want so-and-so. Will you take them? Absolutely, because your show basically produces itself, and it will give them all the experience they need. Well, where do they think I got this fairness? Where do they think this happened? I mean, we're living in a day and age right now where there's no leadership in either side, okay? Because somebody has to say that, yes, in this country, a lot of white people helped black people get to where they had to go. And the man that I know appreciated it as much as anybody was Harry Belafonte. You know why? Because I know about the black culture. Put me in with 30-year-old African-American teachers. You want to start from 1920 on to now, you will lose. You will lose. Because Harry Belafonte showed us the class, the dignity of how to protest without wanting to burn somebody's business to the ground. The abuse he took as a major movie star, and the chances he took, okay, to help his people and all people come together, wasn't lost on me when I was living in an all Italian, Irish, German neighborhood in Chicago. And unfortunately, because I happen to love the black culture, I was called the same names. I went to a high school with 800 black kids. We had 2,200 white kids. And you know what? I got along with everybody. And Harry Belafonte would be the first man to tell you. I had to be one of the great singers, my mother's favorite singer. She's not happy about this. She tells me yesterday, you're kidding. I mean, in the 50s, this man, with all the racial injustices, had to play the balancing act. And yet, if he did and was successful, like in Carmen Jones, and the indignity that they got two singers to take the place of Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte, who was the first man. I want the African-American people to gather around and get an education today, because 95% of you woke up this morning going, who's Harry Belafonte? Because we hear about Al Sharpton, we hear about Trump, we hear about everybody else. And I looked today, why did we start this show? I looked at Twitter yesterday. If I didn't type in Harry Belafonte, and I got over 100,000 people, you didn't know. He's an icon. He was an activist. He's the reason I asked once drugstore in 1974, can you get Jet Magazine in here? And they said there's not enough of a demand. I go, I'd like it. It was an all-black magazine. So I'll carry it forward now, because he could have been, he was best friends with Sidney Poitier. Best friends. Sidney Poitier did a lot for the black community, but he paid out. He did it more out there because he was secure. Because it takes security in your own heart. I remember telling somebody, somebody says, how you doing? I go, I'm set for life. They go, oh, but besides the money. It ain't about the money. That's what everybody's got to get out of their head. You can make all the money in the world. But if a guy, walks across a bridge to help civil rights, you better know about it. Especially if you're of any kind of fairness, an independent person, conservative or liberal. And what makes me mad is I'll never forget when they came out, Aldo, with these race, he's this, he's that. I said, I got to do something to combat this. What would Harry Belafonte do? And by the way, I also want to say this. I had his daughter on my show, Sherry Belafonte. Okay? So I'm not just a talker. I had Sherry Belafonte on a sports station. Okay? And she was a knockout. Okay? But I go, what can I do? And this will be sponsored. We're going to be doing a special 5-part podcast, executively produced by Aldo Gandhi and BB North. And it's sponsored by Raul Jewelers. And it's going to be coming soon. And I'm going to just give everybody a preview of what you're going to hear. Because the Harry Belafonte thing to me is pretty ironic. So I read in the Chicago Sun-Times that the Chicago Defender wants to do a crossover. They're looking for somebody that knows about the black culture. Okay? I go, me. I'm looking at the paper, I go. I book an appointment on 35th in Michigan Avenue.
What year is this, Mike?
99, because I had enough. It doesn't do good to say I'm not. People keep saying that you got to fight back, but what was the clever way to fight back? So I make an appointment. They don't know who they're seeing, okay? Except the owner at the time, Robert Picayune, African-American businessman, entrepreneur, owned some nightclubs in Chicago too. I met him at Gibson Steakhouse, And I said, I want to be here. I want to work for this all black newspaper. He goes, I'll tell the editorial staff to be ready for you. I come in, everybody looked up. It was the reverse. I knew what Harry Belafonte went through at that moment. There was 12 people in this big room, and they all looked up. Every person was black. They said, guy comes up, the editor, he goes, come into the conference room. There's 12 people in there. I was vetted for 3 hours. And one of the questions was, how do you feel about civil rights? And I said, I'm all for them. I go, I've been ostracized. I'm a high school dropout. And then he asked me, and I'll never forget it because there was 12 people in there. And when I walked in, I think every one of them looked at me with dislike. When I was done, only 2 of them looked that way. Okay, because maybe they didn't like me or just whatever. And they said, what do you think of the civil rights leaders? Who are your civil rights leaders? I go, well, Martin Luther King. Oh, everybody says Martin Luther King. Everybody. I go, okay. Harry Belafonte, Frank Sinatra, and Marlon Brando. And they looked. And they said, what do you know about Harry Belafonte? And I gave him 15 minutes, and I was hired. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the greatness of this man, because he got me that job as the first one and dispelled all that crap, because I was a white boy that was vetted by an all-black staff. And they hired me. And I'm proud of that, as proud as anything. And I did it the Harry Belafonte way. I outsmarted him because he got the publicity. You needed those civil rights guys. If Harry Belafonte doesn't get helped by Frank Sinatra, who he adored, if Sinatra doesn't march with him, if Martin Luther King doesn't march with him, how do they think they got the crowds? Just by Martin Luther King being there? He was still making his mark. But Harry Belafonte was the guy. And he died at 96 yesterday. March 1st, 1927. I got to read the dates. I don't remember dates. And he died, of course, April 25th at the age of 96. He was born, Aldo, in Harlem. And I think now that I've had you let me generously have the podium and paint the picture, I want to see what you thought of Harry Belafonte, because I think we agree. We don't always agree politically, but the way that he handled his business, nobody disliked the guy. In my opinion, that unless you are a standout guy that would call him an Uncle Tom because he was some white people, or if a white person didn't like him just because of the color of his skin. But I didn't sense outrage because he still got movie roles and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, Harry Belafonte was a gentleman who, after he served with the Navy, he loaded munitions onto ships. He then went to acting school, and that's where he met Sidney Poitier. And he struggled to find acting work, but found some work as a nightclub singer. And during intermissions, he would sing songs, and he quickly became a hit. And that's where he made his mark first as a performer, singing these calypso songs, and his career just took off. He is said to be the first artist of any color to sell 1 million records. This was just before Elvis Presley broke into the scene, and of course smashed all those records, and then the Beatles smashed all those records. But Belafonte had a tremendous career as a singer, bringing in to the United States the calypso music. And after that, it was when his acting career started. And I got to tell you, one of my favorite movies of all time is a film called Odds Against Tomorrow with the great Robert Ryan.
Get wise to yourself, Ingram. You're just another black spot on Main Street.
Shut that ugly mouth of yours, Earl. Get in the car.
Someday I'm going to snap off your poisoned head.
And it's just a fabulous film. I highly recommend it to everyone. And then he of course became a ardent civil rights activist. And as you said, Mike, he really helped shine the spotlight on the movement. And but one of the things that I read in the New York Times that I did not know about was that years later he said, you know, I'm proud of the work, and I'm paraphrasing here. I'm proud of the work, but sometimes I got tired of it. I got tired of getting called at 3 a.m. in the morning to bail somebody out, of always being pressured to do certain things and so forth. But he did it because he knew it was the right thing. But as with anyone who is leading the way, there's all
Well,
these struggles and pressures involved.
I was reading all the achievements about Harry today, and the Medal of Freedom and the other wonderful things. Against all odds is Harry Belafonte. You hear the race word thrown around so much, and then you hear 30-year-old people say what they would have done. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have done anything. If you wanted anything, I've been watching this Warner Brothers 100 years on TCM. Okay, you wouldn't have done anything. You would have shut your mouth, and you would have gone along with the program if you wanted to be a star in 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. You had to navigate. Life is about navigation. Business is about navigation. You can listen to Tucker Carlson. You can listen to Don Lemon. You can listen to any of the so-called experts. You can listen to Jason Whitlock, who I like. You can listen to them all. I was here. I seen it. I know what they went through. And I know what sacrifice is for other people. I know what sacrifice of career is to make sure you tell yourself the truth. You know how many roles Harry Belafonte could have had? He could have been bigger than Sidney Poitier. He could have had maybe a couple of those films of the 3 that Sidney Poitier made.
Mm-hmm.
And they eventually made movies together, Uptown Saturday Night, some great movies. The reason there's entertainers today of all denominations and races and creeds is because of Harry Belafonte. Frank Sinatra, yes, white and black people together to try to tell, Sammy Davis Jr. is one of my favorite entertainers of all time, okay? But Sammy Davis Jr. couldn't have played the Sands without some white support. That's what used to happen. I think I might, I think Aldo and I may teach an African-American class.
No.
So we can tell the kids that Sammy Davis Jr. was in a drive-in. Who's Sammy Davis Jr.? Maybe teach the kids about prominent African-Americans that rose from the ashes like Harry Belafonte. So today, they wouldn't have to look it up in Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a big influence of mine. My dad was an independent liberal guy. I mean, I know how my dad loved the same culture because he couldn't wait to watch Lola Falana on TV or Leslie Uggams, the prominent black singers, that had to do what they had to do. I mean, the big news of the day. Think about this: what Hattie McDaniel won an Academy Award had to go in the side door in 19 with Gone with the Wind, and she got criticized for going. Why do you want your own not to go? Why would you boycott yourself? That's a famous clip now. The dignity the woman had. That's what it's about. You got to look past it if you want to get the next group to go higher. That's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's got to push together, you do it in the spirit of Harry Belafonte. Now, Harry did, on the show, Aldo and I will often criticize also. That's what this show's about, because we're not going to paint a complete picture. He then started to turn, he was a Democrat, but he wanted everybody to get along. But then he took shots at Bush and stuff. And I'm not saying he was wrong, but that's what sullied him at the end a little bit with a lot of Americans, because he had managed to do it in his way. But I think as you get older, you still got that message, but you see the younger people doing it a little bit different. And you want to grab onto those young people because you're one of the famous guys. You're one of the originals, And so I don't know. I know I've been babbling about him, and I know that, but I just think that Harry Belafonte I mean, Deo is one of the best songs that ever was made.
Mhm.
Deo, everybody knows it. You don't have to know it. You sing Deo,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Mike, that a lot of tributes have been pouring in to the Belafonte family. Quincy Jones, the famed musician,
Mhm.
posted this: "For those who had no voice and those who seemingly had no hope, you made the world a better place, Harry, and there can be no higher calling than that. God bless you, and please give our other brothers a long-awaited hug from me." Jamie Lee Curtis posted this picture of her mom and dad with Harry Belafonte, and she wrote on Instagram, "Artists uniting to use their art form to make a transformational change in the world through music and movies and poetry and books and paintings and photography is one of the great benefits to living a public life. Harry Belafonte exemplified this and utilized every aspect of his immeasurable talent, applying it specifically to the plight of human beings." And then finally, Wendell Pierce, the actor who has been in so many wonderful television series and movies, he wrote, "Harry Belafonte epitomized what the role of an artist should be, the voice that brings together the community to engage each other in the exercise of self-determination, the declaration of that society's values, and in doing that, inspire the society to action." A man of conviction.
Yeah.
Similar words to what you just preached.
I was stationed in Leesville, Louisiana back in 1972. Those 2 months to see how people lived was a big change in my life. It really was. Because they were living, I thought, because I had some black buddies and our drill sergeant lived in that area, I thought I was on the set of Roots. I'm not kidding you how bad it was. I mean, as far as the architecture, the homes. If you saw Everybody's All American, or if you ever saw Mississippi Burning, that was the town like. That those towns around the fort are.
Intense
So
poverty, yeah.
yeah, I mean, poverty for them with not 8 kids in 3 rooms. See, poverty to most people, you still got a cell phone, you got an apartment of 4. You think you're poor? You think you're poor? And even from where Harry was from, I mean, even from Harlem back then, it's just not. It just woke my eyes to a lot of things. I will say this, and when people say this is what I would do, Julie Andrews helped the crossover audience because he and Julie Andrews did a special, which was unheard of back then. Okay, she took a chance, but she was a huge star by then. And the last thing, he did a special with one of my favorite entertainers. I think, who doesn't love Petula Clark? Come on. If you don't love a Petula Clark piece of music, there's something wrong. She put her hand on his arm for like literally a second, and they went through hell. And he went through hell for that in the 60s. As we were starting to evolve a little bit, he took his share of hits. I think we covered them pretty good. He made some great movies, Bucking the Preacher, Carmen Jones. You know which one I liked? Is that the one where it was where they had the nuclear thing and he was the only guy alive? It was almost like
yes,
a type thing.
Yeah, I forgot the title.
The Devil, Odds Against Tomorrow, Bucking the Preacher, Uptown Saturday Night, when he had enough power and they had enough power to do their own production.
Yeah.
So we want to wish the Belafonte family our heartfelt condolences. He was a great American, whether you agreed with them or not. America's about trying to change, and I think he had an incredible impact, and I'm glad we got a chance on him, Malcolm.
Indeed. To the Belafonte family, our condolences. And to Harry Belafonte, your memory will live for a long, long time. And appreciate Mike North shouting from the rooftops about Harry Belafonte.
I got a little bit emotional about it because it just brings back some memories, some good ones and some bad ones. That's all.
Well, clearly he had a huge influence on your life. So I appreciate your thoughts and sentiments.
I almost sounded like a brother of his, didn't I?
That's right.
Oh, maybe I'll go to
like
the funeral. They still have funerals.
Well, and if they do, they should have it over at Cumberland
Bingo!
Chapel's
I was waiting for you.
funeral home.
And then afterwards, go to Pettyville Station. They
Indeed,
cornered the market on excellence.
they
on
have
excellent.
indeed. They have
Okay.
indeed. We're very fortunate to have them as sponsors. And for
Yep.
Mike North, my name is Aldo Gandia. We'll see you the next time somebody big just dies.